And good afternoon. Welcome to We Believe Digital Studios for the We Believe Digital News Break show twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, 12 noon, 30-minute show. So glad that you're joining us. We're coming to you from downtown Jackson, Mississippi, where it's 88 degrees, headed for 91. No rain in sight. I've got a lot of interesting stories to share with you today. First off, the elections. We had runoff elections yesterday. So in our local area in Hinds County, we got decisions on the District 4 and the District 5 supervisor. So District 4, the new supervisor starting in January will be Wanda Evers. Wanda Evers, the niece of Medgar Evers, it looks like 57% of the vote to Vern Gavin, who was an incumbent, 43% of the vote. So Wanda Evers, District 4. And then in District 5, the incumbent, Bobby McGowan, got 59% of the vote to Malcolm Johnson's 41% of the vote. So the new lineup in January, District 1, incumbent Robert Graham. District 2, Anthony Tony Smith, a newcomer. District 3, Deborah Dixon, also a newcomer. And then again, Wanda Evers and Bobby McGowan rounds out District 5. On the House districts locally here, Fabian Nelson earned 69% of the vote and for District 66. District 69, Tamara Butler Washington had 63% of the vote. That was over Patty Patterson. And then in District 72, Justice Gibbs had 61% of the vote to Rukia Lumumba's 39% of the vote. So those were the local races yesterday. Big story, 6 days of trial, state of Mississippi against William Irvin Edwards, a.k.a. Polo, and the jury was deadlocked. Attorneys for both sides in the murder trial don't believe deadlock jury was tainted in any way. Court doesn't know how many jurors would have voted guilty or not guilty because of because no vote was taken among the jury members. They just couldn't reach a decision, and apparently they didn't vote amongst themselves, but just from the discussion they couldn't reach any kind of consensus. And that was the trial, the state attempting to convict William Irvin Edwards of killing Robert Davis back a year ago, May 1st, I believe it was. And so no word yet on if the state will retry the case or not, but the mistrial was declared by Judge Faye Peterson, and that's that for right now. Also on the local level, after 28 years on the force and 3 months serving in a interim capacity, Joseph Wade has been elevated as Jackson's next police chief. On yesterday, the city council voted unanimously to confirm the mayor's pick to head up the Jackson Police Department. The confirmation felt more like a rally than a formal event, with Wade's presentation being interrupted several times with applause from officers gathered in the chamber. So apparently very, very popular. He said, today it's about me, but it's not about me. It's about these citizens who deserve to be safe. It's about the police officers who put their lives on the line every single day. He said that's what it was about. And also included in that WLBT article was some numbers from the Jackson Police Department total officers by year. In 2017, they had 352 officers. 2018, it went up to 415. 2019 down to 352. 2020 down to 298. 2021, the number declined again down to 279. And right now this year, they at this point this year, they have 240 officers. So I think the mandate is for 350, but it's, we're 100 short of that. On the statewide Mississippi front, today is another day that despite this Republican-led folks, appointees and all, legislators, pilfering upwards of $100 million from the fund, the TANF fund, that's to provide a safety net for the poorest in our state. They elect to hold no public hearing on that. No hearing whatsoever, even a non-public hearing. As far as we know, there's been no hearings on the TANF on the TANF scandal by the supermajority, the Republican legislators. No calls for that by the governor, no calls for that by the lieutenant governor, no calls for that by the Speaker of the House. They just want to let the legal process take hold and not get to the bottom of all the details, and especially not do that in public view. A behemoth alligator. This is a thing now. A behemoth alligator more than 14 feet long was caught Saturday in Mississippi by 4 hunters on the Yazoo River. It broke the state's size record, weighing in at a whopping 802.5 pounds. The previous record was set in 2017 by a gator that was 14 feet and just 3/4 of an inch long and weighed just over 766 pounds. That according to Fox News. A local news outlet that helped expose a wide-ranging public corruption scandal has filed its first defense against a defamation lawsuit brought by former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. So this is the company in question, Mississippi Today, with the news outlet arguing it engaged in constitutionally protected speech. So Bryant is suing them. He's saying that some of the words they used to describe his involvement or potential involvement or what have you was wrong, and he's trying to get them to ante up. In Mississippi Today's first legal response since Bryant sued the outlet and its CEO in the Circuit Court of Madison on July 26th for allegedly defaming him. In public comments on the misspending of what they say is $77 million of federal welfare funds, attorney Henry Laird outlined on Friday. 19 legal defenses against the former governor's claims. The attorney also requested that the ex-governor's complaint be dismissed. Now, the CEO of Mississippi Today, Mary Margaret White, said the following, quote, "We will vigorously defend this case and assure the people of Mississippi that the press will not be intimidated. We stand for press freedom and will always uphold our mission of building a more informed Mississippi." How about that? We're all for a more informed Mississippi. Is interesting too, because just a couple of months before the ex-governor Phil Bryant, the former governor Phil Bryant, filed this lawsuit against Mississippi Today, Mississippi Today had won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for their coverage of the welfare scandal. So isn't that interesting? Police in 2 Pine Belt towns have found no evidence to back up a claim made Monday by Republican Governor Tate Reeves' campaign that members of their Democratic opponent's campaign recently vandalized businesses. TV station WDAM reported someone in early July sprayed the message, quote, "Tate Reeves stole our money," unquote, on the sign of a business in downtown Hattiesburg. And the station tweeted on Monday that someone last weekend sprayed a similar message on a Purvis, Mississippi business. Now, surely Brandon Presley has been calling out the governor on this about this welfare scandal that we've spoke about earlier, the one that this lawsuit's about and so forth. But it seemed like a real stretch. But again, the Republican Governor Tate Reeves's people were quick to say that Presley's people were responsible for that. And the police are saying, well, we don't have any evidence whatsoever of that to back up that claim. So how about that? On the national news front, everybody's heard now about Hurricane Idalia making landfall as a Category 3 storm. Catastrophic storm surge to parts of Florida are happening, have been happening for several hours now. The hurricane slammed into the Big Bend area near Keaton, Keaton, Keaton Beach, just before 8 a.m. We Eastern time with 125 mile an hour winds. Storm surge could rise as high as 16 feet in some places. So obviously we send our prayers out to, Florida always getting beat up by these hurricanes. And last year was not an exception. This year, not an exception. They say the hurricane is now pounding parts of southern Georgia as it makes its way, northeast. It's expected to travel straight through Charleston, South Carolina, and maybe hit the very bottom parts of North Carolina before going out to sea. And it's projected to be down to 60 or 70 miles an hour winds by the time it gets up there. So just horrific, these natural disasters. Tough, really tough stuff. Let's go ahead and stop there for a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back to finish up the rest of the national news and some global news stories.
Looking for the hottest content in the city of Jackson and surrounding areas? Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. Also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We Believe Digital Podcast is here for all your podcasting needs.
Hey, have you heard about the Accountable Card? It's more than a card. It's a complete mobile banking service that's accountable to all of us. You'll get a no credit check debit card good anywhere Visa is accepted to make purchases, deposits, even get or transfer cash with an FDIC insured bank account managed from our smartphone app. There's even a pre-approved no interest line of credit if you need emergency cash. So why go to the bank when you can have ours in your pocket? Get accountable. Just download our app today.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
And welcome back to Newsbreak, everybody. Just picking up on these national news stories. Remember the GOP Tennessee House of Representatives? Remember when they decided to shut down those two black lawmakers that were trying to, talk about restrictions on guns, so less people dying. Well, lo and behold, they had a vote on Monday to silence one of those two Democratic members expelled from the chamber earlier this year as the legislature meets for a contentious special session on public safety spurred by a mass shooting in Nashville, Tennessee. Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, the two members of the Tennessee Three, will win back, the remainder of their terms in special elections that CNN projects. But Jones yesterday was twice ruled out of order during debate. This was on Monday, by the Speaker of the House, Cameron Sexton, automatically triggering a vote to silence Jones for the remainder of the day. The vote passed along party lines 70-20, and Democrats walked out in protest. So how about that? So they tried to get him out of the chamber, but then the public outcry was so strong on that, but now being silenced just for one day. So I wonder what happens the next day. Saw a big story this morning that I wanted to spend a little time on, and this has to do with the opioid overdose antidote Narcan. It's going to be available over the counter in the coming days, a move that's hoped to increase access to the life-saving medication, amid the country's worsening opioid epidemic. Emergent Biosolutions, which makes the drug, said Wednesday that shipments were on the way to major retailers, including Walgreens, Walmart, Rite Aid, and CVS. It could also be available to buy online from some businesses this week. Dr. Scott Hadland, an addiction specialist at Mass General for Children in Boston, said the move to over-the-counter, quote, will help to mainstream Narcan, to make it more normalized for people and their families to carry with them and have at home for safety, which is critical to reducing the rising number of overdose deaths occurring nationally, unquote. Now, it looks like the price for a 2-pack, now these are nasal sprays, and it looks like the price for a 2-pack is going to be $44.99. Some people are concerned that will price it out of reach for many people who might need it. I looked up the shelf life, and the shelf life is 2 to 3 years. So wouldn't it be something if, on special days, birthdays, or I don't know, Thanksgiving or Christmas or something, we buy one of those 2-packs, because, God knows we're out at different events. Things happen to people out around restaurants and lounges and different things. And these overdoses don't always happen behind closed doors, So just a thought. $45 could well save a person's life if you have it readily available. The former leader of the Proud Boys could face the longest prison sentence of any on January 6th, when the federal judge hands down punishments for members of the far-right group convicted of seditious conspiracy charges related to the Capitol attack. Sentencing was set to move forward this week, actually today. After U.S. District Judge Timothy Kelly oversaw an all-day hearing Tuesday in the Proud Boys case that included the reading of victim impact statements. But Wednesday's first sentencing were postponed because Kelly is now ill or sick. The judge is sick, a spokesman for the U.S. Marshal Service told NBC News. So it looks like those Proud Boys are going to get the stiffest punishments of all. Spend a minute on this Jacksonville shooter situation. This Jacksonville shooter, Ryan Palmeter, Palmeter, used to work at a dollar store and stopped in at one before a security guard's presence apparently led him instead to target the Dollar General down the road, where he killed 3 people. He worked at a Dollar Tree from October 21 to July 2022. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters said at a news conference on Monday. And the sheriff said he stopped at a Family Dollar store Saturday before pulling into a parking lot at Edward Waters University, where he donned tactical gear. He left when security approached. Quote, based off what we saw, him stopping off at the Family Dollar and working at a Dollar Tree previously, and then him going to Dollar General, that was his intent the whole time, Waters said. Why that store? Still hard to tell. They're still trying to piece it together. In an audio released yesterday from a 911 call, the gunman's father said his son had stopped taking psychiatric medication and stayed in his room after dropping out of college and losing his job. Other records show the 21-year-old had encounters with police as a teenager, including one involving a suicide threat that led to an involuntary psychiatric evaluation. So, not sure about all that, but obviously, just another white person ill in more ways than one to be able to just arbitrarily kill 3 black people, down there in the Jacksonville Dollar Store. Just sad commentary. Moving on to a few stories of global news now. The first one from Brisbane, Australia. On October 14th, more than 17 million registered voters across the country will vote on whether to change the Constitution to recognize the land's original inhabitants through a First Nations advisory group with a direct line to government. Wouldn't that be something? Quote, on that day, every Australian will have a once-in-a-generation chance to bring our country together and to change it for the better, unquote, said Prime Minister Anthony Albanese earlier today. Talk for a minute about this supermoon, which I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if there was a misprint in the story, but we'll see if it makes sense to you. The month of August began with a bright supermoon and will end the same way as another one lights up the night sky this week. The ringed planet Saturn will also make its closest and brightest appearance of the year near the moon. The full moon will peak at 9:36 p.m. On the evening, that's tonight, on the evening of August 30th. That's when the full moon will peak at 9:36 Eastern tonight, but will appear full through Friday morning, according to NASA. At the end of the evening, twilight on Wednesday around 8:42, the bright glow of Saturn will appear about 5 degrees to the upper right of the moon. Over the course of the evening, Saturn will appear to move clockwise around the moon, according to NASA. At their closest, the two will appear to be about the width of 4 full moons apart, according to EarthSky. So the blue moon. Saw another reports too that said that we're not going to see it again until January of 2037. How about that? Corporal Spencer R. Collart, 21 years old. Captain Eleanor V. LeBeau, 29 years old, and Major Tobin J. Lewis, 37, were among 23 Marines on board the MV-22B Osprey when it crashed on Melville Island around 9:30 local time on Sunday. That's in Australia. The Osprey, I did a little looking up at this article. I think it was in NBC News. This Osprey airframe, this is the tilt rotor, the one that can kind of almost behave like a helicopter, but then change the direction of those propellers and really fly fast. So kind of a unique design, but it's had a total of, it came around in 1992. It's had a total of 12 crashes. And in those 12 crashes, according to this NBC News report, 47 souls, 47 people died as a result of those crashes. Many, many more were injured, and the deaths are mostly Marines. I got a name for you to look up, and I'm so sorry I don't have the laptop to see who's in the chat today. The laptop's getting worked on, and hopefully have it back by Friday. But I got a name for you to look up. Bassie Maluleka. Malukia. Maluleka? Maybe that's it. Bassie Maluleka, a South African photographer. And she is on a mission. And I read this article, and take a look at her picture and her determination and all, and she's on a real mission. She's a photographer, and she discovered that they mentioned the British Journal of Photography, 70 to 80% of all photography students worldwide are women. 70 to 80% of photography students are women. Yet they account for only 13 to 15% of professional photographers. So what is up with that? And this South African photographer, Bassie Maluleka, is taking on that challenge. She's going to do something about that. So if you got a couple minutes, look her up and see what that's all about. See what her plan is to do that. Really plans on trying to make a difference. So that's all we have for you today. Here for the news break. A little bit cooler weather. Hope you're taking good care of yourselves in this cooler weather. Boy, that was a hot stretch. Hopefully that's the end of it, but who knows? Things change fast in Mississippi. But take good care of yourselves and each other, and we'll be back to see you again Friday at noontime.